First example we're going to look at, if you look at your notes, we've got a general matrix 3 by 3 and it's got letters in it instead of numbers, and that's just to represent the pattern of what we do. And so step one, as you see in your notes, is to rewrite and expand our matrix. And so we're going to take the first two columns, the first two on the left, and we're going to rewrite them to the right of that to make our matrix larger. Then we're going to follow a series of steps where we're going to be doing some multiplying, some addition, and some subtraction. So watch the pattern. It's the same every time. You have to be very careful and make sure that you're watching your signs very carefully. But if you follow the steps, it's easy to get the determinant. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by going to the upper left corner of our matrix, and we're going to do the multiplication A times E times I. And then we will add to that the product of B times F times G, and then add to that the product of C times D times H. Closing my parentheses, when I get those products, I'll add those all together. Then I'm going to subtract, and now I'm going to go from the bottom left to the upper right, and I'm going to do the products G times E times C plus H times F times A plus I times D times B. And then when I simplify all of that, what I get left is my determinant. Now with all those letters, it looks really complicated and confusing. Let's do one with actual numbers, and you'll see that it's not that hard. The next one, example one in your notes, is this matrix that you see here. So the first thing we're going to do to find the determinant is we're going to expand that matrix. So rewrite the first two columns. So go ahead on your paper, rewrite your first two columns. And if you need to pause the video, then pause it, but make sure you've got that written down. Then we're going to start our process of multiplication, addition, subtraction. So you're always going to start on the upper left and go down to the bottom right. And so it helps to draw the arrows, but don't draw them ahead of time. So first I'm going to do 2 times 1 times negative 1, add, negative 1 times negative 2, add, 1 times 0 times 3. Now since I've finished that, I'm going to close my parentheses. Now I'm going to subtract, and then I'm going to do the next multiplication. So negative 2 times 1 plus 3 times 1 times 2 plus negative 1 times 0 times negative 1. So using my order of operations, I work within the parentheses, and I'm going to get each of those numbers simplified in there. So in the first set of parentheses in the yellow, it turns into negative 2 times, or plus 2 plus 0, and then the green stuff turns into negative 2 plus 6 plus 0. When I simplify all that and add it together, I get 0 minus 4, which is negative 4. That is the determinant. And that's how you find the determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. Okay, you should pause the video and do the one that says on your own and see if you can find the determinant correctly, and then start the video again. To find the determinant here, what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the first two columns. Actually, I'm going to just rewrite the whole thing. So I'm going to repeat the first two columns. And so this is what I'm looking at, and I'm going to do all of that multiplication, that whole process. So you start at the upper left, just like when you read a book. 2 times negative 2 times 2, that's negative 8, plus negative 1 times negative 1 times 1 is 1, plus 1 times negative 3 times negative 6 is 18. Then I'm going to subtract, and then I'm going to come at it the other way. So 1 times negative 2 times 1, plus negative 6 times negative 1 times 2, plus 2 times negative 3 times negative 1. Now I'm going to do negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7, plus 18 is 11, subtract, and then negative 2 plus 12 is 10, plus 6 is 16. So 11 minus 16 is negative 5. So my determinant of my original problem, let's write it up here, the determinant is 5. Another way you can say that, or negative 5, sorry. Another way that you can write that is you write with like these straight up and down, like kind of like absolute value. But one way that it's sometimes written is it's written like this. So when you have those straight lines, it means determinant equals negative 5.